So let's take a look at the Sauromatum giganteum. So we've covered this one in the past and I've done a video on it going down for winter, but now let's have a look at it at flowering time. So this is Sauromatum giganteum, some call it the Giant Voodoo Lily. It's obviously an Aroid or in the Acraea family, one of the reasons I'll be covering it, and it's one of my favourites. It absolutely is a stunning inflorescence when it comes up, and it absolutely stinks. So it's a hardy Aroid, obviously, goes down every year. If you're growing it in the UK, you're going to have to go through that normal cycle that we do with most of these outdoor Aroids, which is they're up all summer and down all winter as a tuber. It's from China and Tibet. It's got this dark green Hastate foliage, so it's it's got this particular spear-shaped shape that's very, very recognizable even from a distance. And actually, it can, when it gets bigger, it can hold its own against some of the big colocasia leaves. It is a huge spreading leaf, I suppose, hence the name giganteum. So it's got a remarkably dark purple black inflorescence that really stands out when you first see it, and it's got this crinkled edge to the spathe, as you can see. And the stink is absolutely horrible. This is one that I can smell. One of the few, actually, that I can actually smell the minute I walk into the garden, even if it's at the end of the garden. So it's not horrible, and it doesn't make you reel back, but it's got this horrible pungent almost decay, almost like a warm decay. And on a summer's day or a sunny day, because it comes up late, and this is filmed in August, late August, and it's only just flowered. So it actually, you won't see these until August unless the conditions are strange. So they come up probably the last of the Aroids that I keep. And just as the arum are starting to come up, and as you can see here, there are actually some arum italicum just making its way up out of the ground, which is, for me, that's really, really early. It's actually wandered back in different, taxonomically it's been Typhonium and Sauromatum, like a lot of these have. So there has been a little bit of backing and forthing with it. And if you look at the Typhonium species, they're very, very similar. But at the moment it's a Sauromatum, so I bracket it in with mine, with Sauromatum venosum and Sauromatum venosum Indian giant. They're all in that same genus. So I do hear some people still referring to it as Typhonium, and you can still buy it as Typhonium. So as I've already said, it's going to emerge later than most of the other Aroids, and almost towards the end of, really is towards the end of the summer. So as I've just said, it's coming out in August for me here, and everything else has kind of done its thing, and some have been gone for months already. If you think of things like Dracunculus vulgaris, that's been up and gone several months ago. Mostly you'll see a single leaf first of all, and that'll get to some size, and then if the tuber's old enough to give you an inflorescence, that will follow shortly. Sometimes that will then come along with a leaf at the same time. As you can see with this one, it's got an inflorescence along with a leaf that's just coming out behind it. It's got this really dark blackish purple colour overall and looks great in different lights. The spadix is quite dark again and quite long, and it just arcs out in like usually just angling forward like that, and that's obviously the way that the insects will get onto it and then climb down to the to the female parts and the male parts. The spade has got this wobbly outline, this wavy outline that really on these older, more healthier ones, looks fantastic. It's got this real ripple all the way up it, and it really stands out compared to a lot of these smooth-edged spades that you'll see on some of these types of Aroids. It really, overall, it really does look great, and the only downside being that smell, really. As with a lot of my outdoor Aroids, they're in a raised bed of gravel and compost mixed with sand, and I feed them massively heavy with, mostly with bone meal. And then I mulch in throughout the year. I'll mulch in some manure, and I'll also feed it with just a standard water-based feed, which I'll do every 2 or 3 weeks, just on the whole border. I don't specifically do it for this plant. And you know, that's it. That's enough. The bone meal really does help with the size of the tuber. That's what I'm trying to do. Is the big thing with all these Aroids, as I'm pretty sure you would know, is we've got to get the tuber to be bigger this year than it was last year. If you don't feed them enough, or if the weather's bad like it has been this summer, then the tuber won't get big enough for you to be able to grow it bigger the following year. So you should always be striving to make sure your tubers are growing bigger. I've never really had any leaf burn with this. I don't keep it in shady conditions, but it's only got sun for about 3 to 4 hours a day. So we live backing onto a wood, so the wood covers it from direct sunshine for 50% of the day, and then the rest of it, it's in and out of shade, you know, based on trees at the side of the house. So I haven't yet seen any leaf burn. So and it's been out in full, you know, 30+ degree heat in some of the summer days we've had this year. And it can also take a lot of rain as long as it's free draining. You know, make sure there's a ton of gravel in there, or you know, anything really, you know, perlite, gravel, grit, sand, bark chippings, anything that will allow it to be free draining. If it sits in clay, or if it sits in, you know, anything that where it holds the moisture, then you might have problems. And I have had a few of them in pots that have rotted. So, you know, just be careful of that one. Just you know, you can leave them in the ground as long as they're free draining. And leaving them in the ground is a thing. So I leave mine in the ground all year now. So I don't frost protect them. I just let them stay. You know, the ones in the pots, quite often I just bring them into a cold greenhouse, and the ones in the ground, I just leave them be. They come up every year, and they are completely hardy for me, and I'm getting them every year, even from a very small size. So I've not seen any of them, as far as I'm aware, take any damage from sort of like -3s or 4s. So be careful, because if you've got them in pots and they freeze solid, then you might lose them. You know, you could mush them, but I don't see that at all. I've never had that yet, but never say never. So yeah, here you go, Sauromatum giganteum. Probably one of the most striking inflorescence you'll see in the Aroid outdoor kind of world. Perfectly great for us here in the UK, and sits along nicely with all of our other kind of shady-esque border plants. I hope you're liking these videos, and if you are, please give us a thumbs up, because it does help us to get in front of other people that might like this kind of content. And if you like this video enough to give it a thumbs up, then why not subscribe to the channel?